common sense is very uncommon these days. Common sense is not something everybody has these days. What does that mean? For instance, manners. Have you just noticed that so many people don't have manners these days? Like, people don't say thank you these days.
That's true.
So many kids are entitled and they just talk down to adults that they don't even know these days. I think a lot of us grew up without moms, grew up without dads, grew up in households that didn't have our grandparents involved. So we don't really see that these days. People really don't know how to live with old people. I think that's something that we can see. There used to be like a reverence in this country for how we would talk about our leaders.
Oh, yeah.
How we would talk about our military men, how we would talk about our parents. There used to be like a reverence we would hold for people older than us, but now that's kind of gone. It's crazy. Of course, there's just a lot less reason to have so much respect for people we don't know. I think that with social media, we kind of know people a lot closer. We kind of know people's inmost thoughts. We kind of know people at a level that wasn't possible back in the day. I didn't know what Joe Biden was thinking, but now he tweets. Now Joe Biden has a Twitter. So we can literally see what whoever's typing for him or what he thinks, and on a daily basis. I mean, Donald Trump himself, he lit the whole world on fire with having a Twitter. So I think it's just crazy when we see, when we just get too much of people, I think. So as far as common sense, it's very uncommon to see protecting a child's innocence. Ooh. I think my mom did her best to like try to tell me, hey, don't watch these films. Don't watch that cartoon. Don't watch that episode on TV. Get out of the room. You don't need to be seeing this. You can't listen to Eminem, even though I listen to Eminem. You can't listen to Wu-Tang Clan. You can't listen to 50 Cent, even though I listened to all of them as children, right? So my mom was doing her best to try to get me to do kid things, to kind of grow up just and take my time to be a kid. She told me, you don't want to grow up too fast. And I remember at the time I was like, no, I do want to grow up that fast. That's where my sensibility was. I do want to grow up fast. I do want to watch that. I do want to hear what RZA, the Jizza, Method Man, Ghostface Killer has to say. I do want to hear all this craziness about these guns and this money and this drug dealing. I do want to hear that. And for a child, that's just one of the worst things you could like put into your head. There's so much better things we could teach our kids. There's so much better things that we would want to show our kids. And I think these days, because a lot of us grew up just desensitized to so much, we don't give kids the same opportunity that we had. We don't even think twice when they're watching an R-rated movie. A lot of us don't think twice when we're cussing in front of our kids. A lot of us don't really pay any mind to the fact that there's a lot of issues where children cannot be kids these days. There's just way too much adult content out here being passed on to kids. And now when we hear the way 17-year-olds talk, now when we hear the way children talk, they're so much older than before than I remember. I swear some of these kids are smarter than when I wasn't.
Who's the genius that created the iPhone that a baby can operate it?
I know, it's the weirdest thing.
Just,
and that's why I feel like kids are smarter these days, because they're able to, just the things they've been exposed to, they're able to operate so much better than I could have ever done that.
With that, yes, but there leaves the vast majority of young people don't know how to have a conversation.
Right.
They don't know how to have social cues, and this is where it's interesting, because I was born in 96. So between the 1990s to the 2000 kids, there's a distinct difference. And I'm not talking just in shows and clothes, where you had kids that were being taught basic conversations before you had an explosion of the internet, and you had them mastering both. Now, I'm decent, I would say, on my tech skills. I'm not great, but I do pretty well in a public forum of having a conversation with people. I love that. I would love to teach young people that, because it's heartbreaking that they're just so phenomenal at being able to handle tech. But when it comes to either talking to a girl or being able to present in class, or ultimately just having a sense of self-confidence because they're not exposed to certain things because all they do is live online, they're missing a huge area. It's like going into
outside.
Let's go outside, folks. it's like going into a museum, looking at a picture frame and missing the entire museum because you're just staring at one frame.
Wow.
That's the way that I say it, just looking plainly online. It's really saying I'm gonna take a snippet of life and I'm gonna enjoy it. And that's my world.
I think the whole thing with being trapped online,
yes,
it really leaves children unable to talk to you.
Yes.
And I think the more we allow this generation to just get sucked into a computer, the less they're going to care about empathizing with us. I think the less ability they'll have to stare you in the eye. These days, I feel like people are scared to look me in the eye when they talk to me.
Yes.
It's the weirdest thing. Maybe because I stare a little too intently. Could be it. Could be it. I look people in their eye. That's just how it was growing up. Looking people in the eye was a common thing, a common courtesy. If I didn't look you in the eye, it showed like a sign of disrespect.
Yes.
Like I got scolded by my family for not looking them in the eye. I got scolded if I was watching TV while I was being talked to. So these are things that I wasn't allowed. I literally was not allowed to not look you in the eye and have a conversation. And these days when I'm talking to even grown adults, it feels like we don't look each other in the eye anymore. I think it's a little too personally, I think just people feel it's too intimate. I don't have a problem with it. I feel respected when people do it. But I think that's a big thing. That's why I've been staring your way when you talk instead of looking at the camera. I'm trying to figure this.
I'm still learning this
podcast stuff here.
We're going to be growing on this.
This podcast stuff is crazy.
Sorry about
to have cameras in your face.
I apologize. I'll definitely.
This is different.
Love, but I've been like.
This is a very different thing to have a camera right in your face.
It is. I would say to add to that, it's because, as I mentioned before, when you have a public forum that's the invisible continent out there, and you have only a comment, you're not hearing a voice, you're not seeing a face, you're not getting face-to-face interactions. Whenever you deal with real interactions, you end up stuttering, you end up choking, you end up freaking out. Why? Because it's so new to you, because it's not, you're living ultimately within a frame without it really having any intimacy with it. And what I mean by intimacy is actual genuine interaction.
Right.
You're learning in that moment. So we have an entire generation that's so fixated on computers. How do we bridge the gap between the screen, the heart, and the mind?
Ain't that the question?
That is the question. I think it needs to be a sense of a hybrid to get people out. But the thing is, how do we get people to start to socialize when all they've known is the computer? You could reach them through the computer, and then finding ways to break that barrier.
Please recommend some books.
Please.
Anything I could read on that, please. I would love to know, how do we deal with that moving forward? Because I think as computers become more sophisticated,
they will.
As we get the Apple glasses, as we turn more looking like Wall-E. If you've seen Wall-E, shout out to Disney, one of Disney's greatest eras with Wall-E. One of its best movies, coming out with great movies. When we get into just having the screen getting closer and closer to the point that our eyes become the screens now. So we're now part of the computer.
Yep, it's like Futurama.
I think we're gonna lose the ability to just be human for a second. We're gonna lose the ability, even just how much we need our phones. Like I need to check this thing all the time.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm feeling it right now.
Broken phone and all. Yeah. The detox from your phone is crazy, right?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. It's
detoxing from the phone is crazy.
It's weird.
It's a weird thing.
It's weird because I feel, in a sense, a bit naked.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that from the fact that I can't communicate with somebody. And I have people, which is driving me crazy, that that hit me up and I don't know what they're going to say.
He still has the smartwatch on.
So this smartwatch is the only reason I'm able to look. And it's not even to say what contacts are there. So I'm freaking out because people are calling me and I'm like, I don't want to be rude. So anybody who's seen this, please forgive me.
His phone's broken, guys. He broke it at the LA County Fair in Pomona. Sorry. On his behalf. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Super sorry.
As we continue, I think common sense is very uncommon these days.
It's true.
So something we definitely want to touch on is professionalism. I think the loss of professionalism these days has been really cutting for me, really jarring. I see it. I've worked in a lot of call centers, so that's why I've had to learn how to have a phone voice. Shout out to all my call center brothers and sisters out there. Shout out to everybody who's had to have a professional speaking voice. And they know the difference between a casual speaking voice and a professional speaking voice. And having to enunciate and having to speak properly and not really curse and not really, you know what I mean? And not be so too casual with this thing and that thing. And it becomes like this, that, and third and whatever, you know, there's a difference between professionalism and casual talking. And I think that's just the common sense thing. And now we work with so many people who have never, ever been in a professional environment. And we need I feel like that needs to be restored in order for us to get something great. In order for us to negotiate, become better negotiators in our own lives, in order for us to be able to speak to people who are higher caliber than us, meaning when you get the chance to meet somebody in your field who you look up to, you don't want to sound like an oaf. You don't want to sound like somebody you don't want to just sound like a fangirl. Nope. You need to be able to separate the two. You know, and in order to do that, you need a sense of professionalism.
Let's give him an example on that.
So I have a friend named Eliza, and he's introduced me to this amazing artist named Ray Khalil. And so she's a SoCal artist. If you ever watch Tiny Desk, her Tiny Desk is amazing. She has a song called "Is It Worth It" out right now. That's incredible. She has a killer team on there. It's in Anderson Paak's camp. So when I met Ray Khalil, my friend Drew turned to me and he said, "Hey, you're a little starstruck right now." He saw it on my face and I couldn't deny it. I couldn't. I was fangirling out. And it's a little different with musicians. I think we're allowed a little more ability to do that. But I've been in the studio with like the same engineers as her, and I could feel myself, like I feel disrespectful just in the way when I give my opinions. I feel like I'm a little too casual with them when I'm talking to some guys who are incredible, who, like, when I listen to the work they do, I really respect them. And I would love to convey that. I feel I could do better in conveying how I am when I'm around other professionals or people who are musicians who are better than me. I am a musician. I do a bunch of different things. I'm not the greatest at all, but when I'm around people who are incredible, I can't help but geek out. So I would love to kind of hold my composure a little more, learn how to hold my composure a little more. I just have fun with it. So that's a personal example I could give.
I get you.
Is I could lose it. If I were to stand in front of the Anderson Paak, I don't know if I could hold it in, you know, if I could keep it cool.
I get you.
That'd be tough to do because that's somebody who I look up to so much.
I get you. I think it's ultimately humanizing them.
Right.
And removing them from a pedestal, which is difficult.
And that would be the common sense.
It's a common sense.
That would be the common sense. You know, the last part of uncommon sense I really want to go over is the golden rule. You know the golden rule, Nick?
Golden rule.
What's the golden rule?
You tell me.
You don't know the golden rule?
I'm about to learn it.
I know you know it. I know you know it. It's do unto others as you would want done to you. Everybody knows the golden rule.
Magic word.
Like, do unto others as you would want done to you. If you would want your opinion heard, then you should allow other people's opinions to be put into something. I know I just recently made a post on IG that kind of went big. And there was a lot of opinions I did not agree with. A lot of comments that I was like, I'm going to delete that instantly. I did delete some comments so to keep hate off of it. But there were some people who were just showing that I might be wrong, that they might understand some things about the post that I maybe don't understand. I left those up because I think it's only fair for somebody to see, like, yeah, Peter might be wrong, so that in your source and what you see, you can consider whether or not what I'm saying is the truth. And that's something that we need to get back to. You know, that's something that, as somebody who's living by the golden rule, I'm going to allow people to speak their voice. I'm going to allow people to say what they need to say.
I concur. If you guys know what movie that's from, and I'm just going to let you guys know, I do use a lot of movie quotes.
I concur is a movie quote? You need to tell me that movie quote.
It's Leonardo DiCaprio movie.
What movie is it, Tony?
Say it.
Catch Me If You Can.
Yes.
Hey.
That's right. Sir, do you concur? It's a bicycle wound. But do you concur? Like I said, it's a bicycle wound. And then he goes on, then he leaves, and he's like, why Why didn't I concur? It's an excellent movie of Leonardo DiCaprio. I think it was 2006.
How you doing? My name is Adrian. I'm one of the editors on the Common Sense podcast. It would be really appreciated if you like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.